Hello, I'm Yelena, and this is Iceland News Review, where we bring you the top stories from Iceland. A big thanks to this video's sponsor, Blue Car Rental. Today, we're going to be talking about the ongoing active eruption zone on the Reykjanes Peninsula, as well as the upcoming Culture Night this Saturday in the capital area. But we're going to start today off at Iceland's new low-cost grocery store, PRÍS, which is hoping to compete with the big chains dominating the market. Katrín Augustad Gunnarsdóttir, the marketing director of the company. Congratulations on the grand opening.
Thank you, and thank you for coming.
Yeah, it's very great to see. There's a lot of people here today. Has there been great a lot of customers coming in since you opened?
Yes, definitely. We opened last Saturday, so this is the 6th day that we're open. And yeah, we have been, when we opened, like in the morning, we have just people waiting outside and just, traffic throughout the day. It's been amazing. So we can really feel the excitement and anticipation.
Yes,
from the
of
people.
course. It's been a long time since a new big grocery chain has opened in Iceland.
Yeah.
And I can see that you have a lot of products that we are very familiar with here. But do you also have products that are new on the Icelandic market or that we can't find in the other chains?
Definitely. We have a lot of products that come from Sweden and are really nice. So we have heard from people here in Iceland that have relations to Scandinavia, that they just feel like home. And the main purpose for that is because we for a portion of our products we import them ourselves in order to get better prices. So there's a lot of new and exciting things here to try.
Yes, wonderful. And speaking of the prices, there was a survey recently that showed that your prices are 5 to 10% lower than the prices at Bonus and Krónan, the leading grocery chains here in Iceland. So how can you provide such low prices?
A large part of that is because we do our own import, and also we've just been really aggressive with the prices. And so when we have a supplier that doesn't give us competitive prices, then we just import the products on our own. But there are also a lot of suppliers that really want to be a part of the journey and that want to work with us.
Wonderful. So you have your first store open now.
Yeah.
When can customers expect more PRÍS stores to be opening up in Iceland?
We start with this one, and if it goes well, we definitely want to expand and get the good prices in other places, definitely.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, and, thank you for coming.
Maybe we'll do a little shop.
Yes, you should, definitely.
Government ministers held a press conference earlier this week to present an updated transport plan till the year 2040 for the city of Reykjavik and the surrounding capital area. Now, the plan includes a rapid bus transit line that has been in the planning stages for some years already, as well as improvements to arterial roads and bike lanes and walking paths in the city, optimizing traffic flow and increasing safety. The cost of the plan has about doubled from previous projections. It was projected to cost 160 billion ISK or kronur, but now is projected to cost 310 billion kronur. The state budget will pay for around a third of the project, while the remainder of the project will be financed by the municipalities in the capital area. Now, these improvements include a rapid bus transit line known as the Borgarlína project, which has faced some delays throughout recent years. But they also include improvements to arterial roads, including Miklabraut, where a tunnel will be constructed along the road. Around 42% of the budget will go toward these road projects, 42% toward the Borgarlína rapid bus transit line, and the remaining funding will go toward bike lanes, walking paths, optimizing traffic flow, and improving safety in general. So starting on Saturday, Reykjavik will have its annual Culture Night Festival, a one-day festival featuring all sorts of exhibitions, workshops, concerts, and events throughout the day. Reykjavik Marathon also takes place to kick off the festival on Saturday, and marathon organizers are expecting a record number of participants this year. Culture Night always ends with a big concert on Arnarhóll in downtown Reykjavik, as well as a fireworks show. And it is important to know that the city center will have lots of closures during that time. So residents and visitors are asked to avoid driving down into the city center and parking in this area, and there will be a free shuttle bus service from Laugardalshöll Stadium in the eastern part of Reykjavik. So in that area, residents and visitors can park and get a free shuttle down to the city center. And at the end of the night, from 11 p.m., there will also be free shuttles returning to the suburbs of the city, and they will take off from the statue Sun Voyager, or Solfarið. Now, at the end of the Culture Night events, the shuttle buses will be leaving from right here, next to the statue. And if you're interested in knowing the programming of Culture Night and all of the events happening throughout the day, you can visit the website of the city of Reykjavik. And as usual, Iceland's nature has not been particularly calm this week. In southeast Iceland, there has been a glacial outburst flood in the river Skaftá in that region. Now, these floods are a regular occurrence. They happen on average every 2 years, although the last one in this case was just a year ago, in August of last year. Now, as it stands, the flood has led to increased conductivity in Skaftá River and higher water levels in some areas, but it has not flooded any roads in the area, although that is always a risk. Another potential risk of the glacial outburst floods is air pollution from hydrogen sulfide gas, particularly closer to the glacier, where the water causing the flood emerges from. So floods in Skaftá River, they are sourced from 2 ice cauldrons beneath Vatnajökull Glacier, which is the largest glacier in Iceland. And usually, these 2 cauldrons will burst and release water one at a time, causing these floods from year to year. And occasionally, they will actually also release water at the same time. And this happened last in 2021. Now, this time around, it has not yet been confirmed which of the ice cauldrons is causing the current flood. But travelers are encouraged to show caution in the area, particularly very close to Skaftá River. Now, the final other thing that's been happening in Iceland nature this week is, of course, the Reykjanes eruption area, where we've had a series of eruptions since 2021. And although there is no active eruption at the moment, experts are saying that an eruption could occur at any point, or an underground magma intrusion. And over the last weekend and week, the seismic activity at the Sundhnúksgígaröð area, where the most recent eruptions have occurred, has increased. So there's been more earthquakes and slightly stronger earthquakes, including an M2.5 earthquake, which is the strongest one since the previous eruption. And although experts are saying that an eruption could happen at any point, or an underground magma intrusion, the area, it has still been quiet for weeks, even though they've been saying that for weeks. So just goes to show that you can't quite predict nature, even with all the scientific advances that we have today. But it's also important to note that the eruptions in this area are highly localized, and they have not been affecting international travel to and from Iceland in any way whatsoever. And speaking of nature, in North Iceland, ptarmigans saw the 4th worst breeding season on record, unfortunately. And the Icelandic Institute for Nature Research says that this is largely due to snowy weather and snowstorms that happened in the region in early June. So at this point in time, many female ptarmigans had already laid eggs and were already incubating them in their nests when the snowstorm caused many of them to abandon their nests. Now, in the north, the West Fjords, and East Iceland, in these regions, the number of chicks that were found by the Institute's annual chick counting was quite lower than average. So while ptarmigans usually have around 7 to 8 chicks a year, This year, the average was 5.6 in the country, with some of the worst regions seeing much lower averages than that as well. And a significant proportion of the ptarmigans in some of the worst affected regions did not have chicks at all this year. And as for the chicks that were born, many of them were born 4 to 6 weeks later than usual, which is going to affect their development as well as their chances of survival into the next year. Now, ptarmigan is the most popular bird for hunters in Iceland, and it's a very popular dish for Christmas dinner. But you won't find ptarmigan in any butcher shop in Iceland because selling the meat is illegal, and this is in order to protect the population of ptarmigans to make sure that their numbers can stay relatively stable. So it can be hunted for personal use, and the quota, the hunting quota every year, is determined by this chick counting that happens every summer. Now, another thing that will be impacted by lower ptarmigan numbers is the gyrfalcon in Iceland. Now, that's a protected species whose main food is actually the ptarmigan. So for these two birds, their populations are known to fluctuate together in tandem. As there are fewer ptarmigans, there's fewer gyrfalcons, and vice versa. And finally, a controversial news story. Icelandic police have been authorized to use electroshock weapons and will begin doing so next month. Now, around 460 police officers have been trained and certified to use these new weapons. It may not seem like a large deal to our viewers in other countries, but in Iceland, Icelandic police are actually still not carrying guns on their person, although they do have access to guns in specific circumstances. So the institution of electroshock weapons has been controversial in Iceland. The previous Minister of Justice, Jón Gunnarsson, he instituted these regulations just unilaterally that allowed basically Icelandic police to be able to use these weapons. Later on, the parliamentary ombudsman found that his instituting of these regulations had actually breached parliamentary procedure because he had not consulted the cabinet and the other members of the cabinet on this new regulation. So despite this controversy, the current Minister of Justice, Guðrún Hafsteinsdóttir, she has actually moved forward with the instituting of electroshock weapons. And the goal with police using these weapons is to give them more options to respond in violent circumstances without having to resort to the use of firearms. However, their institution has been opposed, and a recent survey shows that around 30% of respondents were either very or somewhat opposed to the police using these electroshock weapons. Those are all our top stories for this week. Thanks for joining us on Iceland News Review. For ongoing news coverage, you can visit our website, icelandreview.com.